Ah, great, it's working. Then I will turn the song off and turn the camera on. Hello, people. Where's the little logo? There we go. 40k subs, quite a number. Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy. It seems to just keep going up. And I've still, if I look at the analytics, it still says like pretty much half of that's from the switch mode power supply video, which I'd prefer if it was a bit more spread out, but it's fine. I'm getting lots of views on the other videos. I have nothing prepared, by the way, so ask questions, please. Yeah. I haven't got my friends watching this stream that I'm aware of, so I need someone to keep me entertained, or I'm going to keep drinking water awkwardly. I can show you some boards I've designed for my next video. Let me get them up. I've got the hat on, by the way, because there's a big window behind my monitor and the sun came out earlier, and I haven't taken the hat off because I'm lazy. I hope you can you hear me all right? I'm not just talking to myself. We hear you. Brilliant. Yeah, so... Oh, actually, I've got a question I want to ask people, but I might wait until there's a few more viewers. I might try and do a poll, which I have no idea how to do. Engage with your audience. Start a poll. There we go. Because I've got a question for my next video. I've got something with a particular name that I think is a bad name, so I want to call it something else in the video. And I asked some colleagues at work and they all got very upset and they were like, oh, you can't call it that, it's not that. But I think sometimes you have to lie to make things a bit easier to understand. So I want to see where 21 of my viewers stand on that issue. While we are on live, do you mind sharing your experience on working in the Formula Student team and then in F1? They're surprisingly similar in some regards. Kept you promise. What was my promise? That I'd do a live stream, or that I'd do another live stream. I can't remember. Yeah, Formula Student versus Formula One. Yeah, they're quite similar. It kind of depends what your Formula Student team's like. So I'm doing an F1 placement, and the other placement students that I've spoken to, they're all from these like crazy German and European teams that have like €100,000 or like €1,000,000 budgets, and they're sponsored by like Rimac and things. I think those teams are quite like F1 because they've got so much money and they're quite big teams. I think if you're from a British team or, I don't know, places that aren't Germany, then it's probably less like F1. But lots of the parts are the same. So for example, my Formula Student team had quite a limited budget, but we still used like Autosport connectors and Spec 55, like military spec wire for our wiring harness. That's exactly the same as in F1. So some of the materials and things you get, like, you turn up and you've got experience with. Obviously the team structure is a bit different. My Formula Student team had, like, on the electrical side of it, we probably had maybe like 8 active members, whereas just the powertrain side of Red Bull's probably got more than that. I don't know if maybe I'm not allowed to say how many people we've got in case the other teams are like, oh. But the Formula Student's definitely really good preparation for F1. So even though F1's like a massive step up from Formula Student, unless you're in one of these crazy teams, it's still like massively prepares you more than not doing it. Just like kind of general like motorsport engineering and knowing like, oh well, it's like designing for high vibration and things like that you get from Formula Student. Oh, there was something else I was going to say. Yeah, it seems like I think the people that are in these really high-end teams have a much better chance of getting into F1 because, as I said, I haven't met anyone else from a like lower-end team that's got one of these placements. But I think there are other ones. But I think, yeah, and I'm not really saying anything. Yes, that was my promise. Brilliant. Well, I'm happy to keep my promises. 28 viewers. It's almost better than the last stream. We'll see if I can not lose subscribers. I think I lost nearly 10 subscribers while I was streaming last time. I don't know what I said, but maybe if I say something that upsets you, you can just let me know. Yeah. Can you make some videos about how we design SMPS? What calculations we do? It's quite funny you say that. So I don't want to jump straight to switch mode power supply because it's got isolation and what else. It's not. I want to start with the simplest converters. So my next video is going to be on simple non-isolated converters, so like buck converters, boost converters. It's just going to go over how they work. It's not going to have any maths. But then there's going to be a part 2 to that that's already planned and should be out shortly after that one. That's going to go through the design for buck converters, boost converters, so calculating capacitor values, inductor values. Potentially in that video as well I might put component selection, like how to know what MOSFET you need, how much cooling you need, all that kind of stuff. And then depending on how that video does, I can then like do the same thing for more advanced topologies, like those with isolation in power supplies. That's what I've got, some renders that I'll show you in a little bit that are the boards for that, because basically I've designed 3 different converters, and in the video I'm going to go through all the maths and then go over to the bench and say, look, I actually have these converters, and then we're going to look at all the signals on the scope, inductor current, diode current, MOSFET current, and see if they're the same as what we thought they would be. I think that kind of thing is quite useful. I've just finished designing those boards today. I ordered the parts a few days ago, but the boards will take a little while to come because the JLC take a little bit longer to manufacture boards if you want weird colours, and I like my colours, so I think it might be 2 weeks before the first of those videos is done. But I am on it. I've got less time than I expected, so the rate of videos is probably 1 a month, but these 2 should come out together, or as in a week apart maybe. Your idea of breaking down the electronic system into individual components was very innovative. I know, I hope other people don't start copying me and then I lose my edge. I look forward to more of your creative videos. Thank you very much for the work you've done so far. Yeah, it's weird. To me, it seems quite logical to kind of split things up. Like the most recent one, the linear power supply. It's like you've got your rectifier, you've got your regulator, you've got your transformer. Separate them and it makes things easier. Like I thought we were all sort of taught at some point that like if you've got a problem and you have to solve it, you break it down into smaller problems. But I don't know. I guess people think that like putting them on their own little boards is sort of like a bit patronising. Like maybe people would think they're at school or something, but it works really well. I I think basically every video from me you can expect some kind of PCB with something simple on, and I need to keep them colourful as well. Warm greetings from Poland. Poland. Ah, there's a guy at work from Poland. I knew there was some reason why I was thinking about it. It borders lots of countries, I think, Poland, doesn't it? He was showing us on the map. And then sort of saying, they invaded us then, they invaded us then. It's quite interesting. I think taking into account everything from inductor design to EMI control, you're probably better off learning it through a specification course. I'm not sure what a specification course is. But yeah, I mean, if you want to learn things properly, I think I'm probably not the person to go to. I'm mostly trying to get people from like 10% knowledge to like 50% knowledge or something like that. I think the really like low end of like what is electricity, I've never really tried to think about a concise way to explain that, but hopefully no one's going to ask that. And then obviously like the super high end stuff, I could make videos about it. Well, probably couldn't, but I don't think it would get many views. But saying that, the MOSFET video goes into quite a lot of detail. I don't think there's a lot that's been left out of that. What is your favourite sub-circuit used commonly in electronics? For example, I always like the Schmidt trigger inverter RC oscillator. Yeah, that's quite a good shout. It's got to be power electronics, because that's all I've been thinking about the last 2 years probably. Favourite sub-circuit? The problem is you've asked me something that needs an opinion now. I'm very indecisive. I'm going to go for... Oh, well, it's got to be a half bridge. If that's not... I don't know if that might be too simple, if it's just two MOSFETs, but... yeah, love a good half bridge. They're everywhere, and they're very nice. Nice hat, thank you. Hopefully no one's offended by it. Thanks for the response. How have you found Milton Keynes itself? Do you drive? I drive, I have a car, but I don't drive much. Milton Keynes is actually really nice. Well, I think I'm very lucky. I'm in a part of... I don't have to walk on any roads to get to work. I mean, it's quite pedestrianised, really. You don't have to cross any roads. You just go over them or under them, which is nice. But yeah, I think I'm at like the outskirts of Milton Keynes. So like my walk to work every day is through a park. So I choose to walk to work instead of cycle or drive because it's nice. But yeah, I've driven around it a little bit. I mostly just drive through Milton Keynes to leave Milton Keynes. It's quite fun, but it's also quite scary because the locals absolutely bomb it around the roundabouts. Is it possible to design a switched mode power supply without using an IC? Without using an IC? By IC, do you mean controller, or do you mean like anything with more than 3 pins? Because I think they'd both be possible, but it would be different levels of challenging. And it wouldn't be a very good one. But yeah, I'm slightly worried I'm going to turn into the power supply guy, which I don't really want to do, so I might have to start making some videos on other stuff. But I guess there's worse things to be. Thank you very much for your response. You are a legend. What did I respond to? Oh, yes. Oh, thank you. Is there a good book about how to design? I've never really read any electronics books, I'm not going to lie. I've got I don't even know if I have it anymore, actually. I think it's at home. I've got The Art of Electronics, the big golden book, mostly just because it looks nice, and Dave Jones, EEV blog, recommended it, so I thought I'd get it. I read it a bit when I got it, which was like years ago, but I don't really read books. I'm sorry. I don't really have the attention span. Hey man, only discovered your channel recently and I'm loving it. Cheers. Thanks. I've only really been doing it properly 4 months. I've had the channel quite a lot longer, but I didn't upload for a while because I didn't. But now I am. Not super regularly though. Oh yeah, a quick question for people, which I don't think is important enough for a poll. Do you think a regular upload schedule is something like, basically, would you rather I upload I don't upload for 5 weeks and then upload 3 weeks in a row, or would you rather it's like every 2 weeks spaced out? So I'm not saying more or less videos, but would you rather them be released at a regular time or just when they're finished? Because at the moment I just edit the video and then publish it, no specific day or time or anything. But I don't know if anyone actually cares, because YouTube has a little recommendation that says like, consider an upload schedule so your viewers know when you're going to upload or something, and it's like, does it really matter? It's like, I don't think it does personally. I need a little marker so I can mark off things that I've read. Hey man, I only discovered it. I've just read that one. I think the 3-phase inverter board breakdown was a very nice view of PCB design for power electronics. That was very refreshing to watch. Yes, I briefly forgot what you were talking about, but yes, that inverter is over there. Yeah, I need to do that again with my new inverter, which is... I've got a box of old PCBs somewhere. I made a newer inverter. Oh, actually, let me quickly find the picture, because I've recently got sent a picture of it with its current sensors installed, and it kind of looks quite nice. So I will quickly show that off. But yeah, I quite liked that video. I quite like showing things that are bad, especially if I've designed them, because then there's no problem just going through criticizing everything. Because I actually did a similar thing for my job interview for not Mercedes, for Red Bull. The guy was asking me about my projects that I put on my CV, and it was a online Teams interview. So then I just went and got one out my box, the one he was asking about, and I said, this isn't the best one to talk about because it's quite old and there's lots of problems with it. And then he said, why don't you go through some of the problems? And then I basically just spent half an hour holding it up to the webcam and pointing out all the problems with my circuit I'd designed. And they really liked that. So if you've got a board that's not very good, don't be ashamed of it. Still show it in interviews and say oh, I did this, but I would have done this. I think they really like that kind of thing. Anyway, let me quickly find this picture of the newer inverter. Because, yeah, that inverter I went through, I can't remember whether I actually said it was any good in the video, but I think the specs were probably a little optimistic, because I've run it at 30 volts, 5 amps output, not even switching that fast, and it gets quite smelly. So I don't really use it much anymore. I keep meaning to make a new test inverter for testing motors, but I haven't really done much motor testing recently. If I download this and then click on this, I suppose I can full screen it and then share my screen, but then I can't see everything else. I need another monitor. Right, I'm going to full screen and quickly show this inverter, so sorry if I miss anything in the chat. Full screen, then we've got OBS, so then I do display capture. Oh, I'll turn off the logo. And turn me off as well. Logo off. No, small logo off, big logo off. Apologies for this, everybody. Turn me off. There we go. This is a newer version, a newer inverter I've made. So I made this for university. This is a infinitely better design than the previous one. This uses high-end silicon carbide MOSFETs. This is designed for 600 volt operation. RMS output current of probably up to about 70 amps. So it's about 35 kilowatts peak power. The blue things are the current sensors, Hall effect from Lem. They're really nice. They're special ones designed for high VDT applications, which is a problem, which is an application where most current sensors have problems. The black things are the DCs for the gate drives, which are underneath the board. Grey things are the capacitors, and the whole board is absolutely tiny. It's brilliant. But anyway, I need to see what you guys are saying, so I will... you can see everything. Oh, I hope there's nothing incriminating there. Right. Let's see what I've missed. So I was here. Hi there. Hi. Hello. Maybe I should read people's names. Other people do that on streams, don't they? It's good for interaction. 40k subs. That was quick. Was it quicker than you expected? I'm not really sure. I guess it kind of was. Since I've started the channel up again. So I had... let me quickly see, actually. I can try and get the analytics up because it's quite interesting. But yeah, since I started the channel back up in July, I had 1k subs when I moved here and did that and started making videos again. And I've been getting about 10k a month. It slowed down a little bit, but this most recent video, as I hoped, kind of gave it a boost. Last month was my most viewed month after 2 months of decline. I don't really look at the numbers or care about the numbers, but I would quite like 100k subs before I leave work, because then I can then I can show off. So let's have a look. Subscribers. But yeah, I think about 10k a month. So in terms of quicker than expected, I don't know, I don't really have any... I'm not really keeping track of when I hit the various thresholds. I just sort of every day I go on YouTube Studio on my phone, look at the subs and go, oh, there's some more subs. Subscribers. So if I look at subscribers the last year, yeah, it basically just has a little bump every time I release a video. So I suppose, yeah, recent me, it wasn't quicker than I expected because it's been going up the same kind of rate. If you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd be like, that would be insane. Yeah, the rate I'm gaining subs is kind of crazy, to be honest. Anyway, I'm rambling. Same here with AOE. Got it. Yeah, it's a big book. It's a bit overwhelming. Principles of Power Electronics is also one of the better texts that takes you up from the fundamentals. Yeah, that's good. That's nice. My next video, I've been writing the script for. It's the first time I've like made a full-on script instead of just points, just to try that out. And I was thinking like, oh, I should turn this into a little book, but I think books are a little bit outdated these days, to be honest. I think I'm not alone in preferring to watch than read. Hello. Doesn't matter, I guess. What doesn't matter? I can't remember. Oh, yeah, the question I asked. The upload. Unless you're trying to make the algorithm happy. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to lie. The algorithm kind of seems happy anyway. So, yeah, I don't see any. Because lots of channels have that, don't they? They're like, I upload every Tuesday evening. I don't know. I don't think there's many YouTube channels where you'd wake up on a Tuesday morning and go, oh, Electroc's going to upload today. I don't care about upload. I think it's good to have regular videos. Yeah, I think if I was doing it full time, I think if I was doing it full time, then I'd be like, right, I'll do one video every week or something, because otherwise it's probably quite easy to just put it off and be lazy. But I don't want to have to promise a video and then be like, oh shit, I need to make a video and then make a crap video. So Because at the moment I'm sort of doing one, releasing it, then start work on the next one. And if I've got to design PCBs for every video, then that might take 1 weekend to design the boards, then 2 weeks until they get here. I've got to quickly solder them together and test them and things. And then obviously if I design a board for a video and it doesn't work, that's going to be a major delay on the video. Because I can't really do anything in the week. I don't really have time. So that's one reason why a lot of the boards in my videos are extremely simple, because it's quite easy to make just a little mistake and have to bodge it, and then I have all these comments saying, "What's that little wire for?" Content better than time. Yes, I agree. Is it harmful to touch a 220 volt voltage source if your hands are dry? Have you ever experienced this yourself? And can it cause you to faint? I wouldn't recommend it. I had a comment. I have had more than one comment on the linear power supply video, because I said at the start, I was like, "This is mains electricity. Don't touch it or you'll die." And then there's comments saying like, "You don't die if you touch it." But I'm not going to say in the video, "Don't touch it because you might die or you might be fine." And then people are like, "He said I might be fine, but now I'm dead." So yeah, I wouldn't try it. But it's funny working with like Formula Student and electric cars and motorsport and things like that. Suddenly 220, 240 volts doesn't really seem like very much when you've got like battery packs that are like 600, 800 volts. I know it's DC versus AC, but yeah, I don't know. We had quite a nice thing in the Formula Student team. Our battery pack had modules, and each module is 120 volts. And then for our BMS, we had a big long pin header with one pin per cell. So you could put one finger on one end, and then your other finger you could slowly slide it along, and it was like a human potentiometer up to 120 volts DC, and you couldn't feel that. Like I'd sort of be there licking my fingers, rubbing it across, and you'd feel like a slight tingle. But obviously 220 volts AC is double that voltage, and RMS, so the peaks are triple that voltage. And it's AC, which is scarier. Anyway, if you don't read books, how did you learn all these things? And what do you recommend to do in order to learn power electronics design in depth? I learned lots from watching YouTube, so like Big Clive, EEV blog. I don't really like trying new channels, so when I used to watch YouTube a lot, it was mostly just those two, although I'm probably forgetting someone. Then, yeah, if you have the opportunity, I'd strongly recommend going to university or doing like college or something like that, because the last few years, almost everything I've been learning has been from talking to people, and I've found that in an actual job, people are a bit less interested in answering your questions than if you go to uni, because then it's their job to help you. And also you can learn a lot from just like messing around with stuff. So yeah, hello young fellow. Oh, am I young? I guess I'm probably the youngest person here. I wonder, is anyone watching under 20? Is anyone a teenager? I'll be very happy, not because I'm a pedo, but I'm trying to. It'd be good to get young people into electronics. Anyway, I'll shut up because I think that's what made people unsubscribe in my last one, me insulting young people. I mean old people. Oh, 16, 18, this is brilliant. I'm happy. 15, wow. That's crazy. That's really good. Speaking from my experience, I ended up on your content because it had good information that was very useful to me, not because it was uploaded on a specific schedule. Yeah, I don't think anyone is going to like stop watching a channel because they don't upload regularly enough. In a way, it's like when people upload erratically, it sort of makes it more exciting. Like, I don't know if anyone watches photonic induction, but it like disappears for 3 years and then uploads a video, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" Don't put pressure. Blah 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 blah. Where's the top hat? Ah, I'm sorry. I still need to get the top hat. I'm kind of struggling to find a supplier, a dealer, to be honest. I've got a load of caps, but for some reason I left them all at home. I've only got this Red Bull one and a MATLAB hat here. I used to wear caps quite a lot. There was a time when I had longer hair and I hid it under my cap and then had a different cap each day. It was quite nice, but I haven't got that anymore. I noticed the new board explicitly uses film caps instead of electrolytic too. Yeah, electrolytic capacitors are really bad. Apart from if I have to get some B-roll of a capacitor blowing up, I don't use them. Obviously, there's reasons to use them. There's reasons why most applications still use them, because they're a lot cheaper than something like polymer capacitors. But like for my boards I show in the videos, I've got a habit of just buying really overkill components for boards that are going to get used like for 30 seconds in a video and then never used again. Like the boards for my next video, I'm designing like buck and boost converters. I've just spent like £250 on components for those, and it's literally each one just has some capacitors, a MOSFET, a diode, and an inductor. But I got the most expensive polymer caps I could find. They're like really nice. But yeah, if you're not budget limited, I'd definitely avoid electrolytics at all costs. Also, you can't get electrolytics that'll run up to like 600, 800 volts anyway, and you don't want to put them in series. But yeah, I've got the slight problem that I've never really had to design like to a budget. My early projects I did for myself were like budget limited, but then Formula Student at uni, we had, as a team, we didn't have much money, but in terms of the small amount of money that you have to spend for electronic components, we had like essentially unlimited budget in terms of like a 5p capacitor versus a £1 capacitor. No one cared. And then obviously in F1 there's not really any money restrictions, and I use the revenue from the videos to fund the boards that I make for the videos. So that means I can quite easily spend a few £100 on just like passives. Anyway, I'll move on. I found you as a newbie to electronics. Eventually more will come. More knowledge, yes. Yeah, your most recent video with linear power supply is great. It's legitimately an amazing way to teach about electronics. Thank you. Yeah, I seem to have sort of found my stride in teaching circuits by like breaking them up. As I said earlier, hopefully other people don't start doing it, or everyone will leave me. Yeah, I wish that one came out when I first started. I was watching videos over my head in the beginning. I've followed people who upload once a week and once a month and still have pretty nice growth. Every week seems a bit too much. Yeah, every week is quite a bit, to be honest. I think every 2 weeks would be nice. That's kind of my target. But yeah, I think I'll probably upload a lot more next year because I'll be back at uni, and uni's not particularly time intensive. Honestly, that was my biggest pet peeve learning electronics. Don't touch without explaining the caveats. But I get it, you're just trying to cover yourself and can't please them all. Yeah, it's a bit. I think if I'm talking to someone like face to face, then I'll say, "Oh, it probably won't do anything, but don't touch it." But I don't know what kind of people are watching these videos, and I know that other people in other countries are quite enjoy suing people. So yeah, don't worry, people will never write. You said I'll be fine, but now I'm dead. Yeah, I guess that's true. The parents might, though. Or kids. I wanted to get safety out of the way, but the don't touch wasn't satisfying. I wanted to know. 16, 18, 15, 20, 13 inside. My trousers are less than a year old. That's not too bad. I sure hope there's a lot of caps in power electronics. Oh, plenty of caps. I've got a whole set of drawers and 2 boxes filled with caps. You're a big fan of Red Bull. I work at Red Bull. The hat's not from work. They don't really give me any clothes, unfortunately, but I had the hat before. I think it's probably my favourite team, hence why I applied to work there. But yeah, sorry if there's any Mercedes Hamilton Cope people. Red Bull cap, okay by me. Need recapping, is that Mercedes fan speaking? Are you good at programming? I don't think so. I think I'm good in the sense that, like, if I have an idea, I find it quite easy to write the code to make it work. But I think if a programmer looked at my code, they'd be like, "Oh my god, what is this?" But in terms of just making it work, I'd say I've got enough knowledge of the languages I use to be able to quickly write code that works. But I'm definitely not an expert. I love your channel and how you explain things. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know about the explaining. I just sort of explain it how I think it should be explained, and it seems to be a good way to explain things. So, when will qualifying start tomorrow? Yeah, I know. I timed this stream so that, because I was thinking like, oh, maybe there'll be a red flag and it'll overrun, so I'll give myself a decent buffer after qualifying. And then qualifying just didn't happen, so that was a bit disappointing. So I just watched a movie instead. And then it wasn't even very good. I thought this guy's wife died, but then she wasn't dead, and it was far too confusing for me. Don't make someone dead unless they're actually dead. How do I make a SMPS when I don't even know anything about the salvage transformers I got? Yeah, if you try and salvage components and then use them, especially something like a transformer, that's probably quite tricky. You could probably salvaging passives that are a bit simpler, like definitely capacitors is probably alright. Well, if they're old, they'll be crap, but salvage transformer, yeah, I think you'd have to spend quite a lot of time to characterize it properly to know what you're dealing with. I mean, these things aren't crazy expensive. Yeah, you are not Electro Boom, more like Electrosafe. Yeah, to be honest, I haven't watched Electro Boom for a few years, but I know when he started to pick up and when he had like a few 100k subs and was like heading towards 1 million, the things he was doing in the videos were so sketchy. I remember Big Clive mentioning it a few times. Like, Electro Boom would like use a microwave oven transformer to get really high voltage. I think he still does that kind of thing, but then not even say like, don't do this, it's really dangerous. And like, it's kind of scary the amount of views that he gets showing something like that. I don't want to think about what people might be trying to copy him. How old are you on the inside? I think two different. I think there's a side of me that's probably about 60 on the inside. I've got very slow reactions to everything. Like if there's a loud bang, I just kind of sit here and don't move. And everyone thinks I'm super chill, but it's just because my reactions are so slow. And I think I'm quite calm as well. But then there's also, if I'm like talking about electronics and get super excited, then I become like an 8-year-old asking loads of questions and doing whatever they do. But I think I get quite loud as well. No worries, we're all Max fans here. Which battery type do you work mostly with, and what do you think of sodium-ion batteries? I heard they are the future type. Yeah, well, there's always these things about future whatever. I think people like to say that sodium's the future because it's after lithium in the periodic table. So it just seems like progression. I think they do seem quite good though. I think they're less blowy uppy, aren't they, than lithium batteries? To be honest, I don't know much about batteries at all. Definitely not ones that aren't mainstream. I know enough about batteries to use them, but I'm not a chemist. I'm not an expert on all these like anode and cathode materials and things like that. I just know they've got to be less than 4.2 volts. Remember the rule: if there is no body, they are not dead. Are you suggesting if I say the mains is safe and then someone injures themselves, it's fine as long as I deal with them? Will you ever make a video about power factor? I mentioned it in the last video. I haven't done a video specifically on it yet. Would I? I'm not sure. What's he called? Is it Practical Engineering? Brady. I think he made a video about power factor in the grid, which I think was probably good because he made it. But would I consider doing it? Maybe. I think there's already some decent videos on it. I try to not cover content that's already got good videos on. And it seems like power electronics in general is sort of somewhat a bit of a gap in YouTube. Obviously there's other people making videos, but most of the mainstream people seem to cover other types of electronics. How's it going? Good. Thank you for asking. It's always such an awkward thing. It's like, why do people ask that kind of thing? Like, it's fine. Don't worry, you're allowed to ask it. But like at work, anytime I see someone like after the weekend and they're like, "Hi, how are you?" and I'm like, "Good, yes." And then they say like, "Do you have a good weekend?" and I'm like, "Yes." That's it. I think people are just difficult to talk to, aren't they? Are you planning on doing PhD? Yes, I'm quite keen on doing that. I think at the moment my two main options are either doing a PhD or returning to Red Bull. But I think PhD's slightly higher at the moment, mostly because there's less human interaction doing a PhD. Plus a bit more time for YouTube. Sodium might be good for static applications, perhaps, I think. Yeah. It would be good to have batteries that are better for static things. Because at the moment, like these Tesla, what are they called? It's not power walls. The big ones they put, like the one that burnt down in Australia, the massive ones they attach to the grid. They still use the same batteries as they put in the cars, which just seems stupid. Lithium iron phosphate's a bit better for static things, but you'd think there'd be a type of battery that's much better for static, that's like really heavy but really good. But they're all kind of similar. Would you say they're more blowy uppy because they're more reactive, but also sodium is much more abundant, so they could be cheaper? Yeah. That's a good point, actually. Sodium is more reactive. I'm not sure if I want batteries to be any more blowy uppy than they already are. I'm sure I heard somewhere that they're safer. I don't know why. Yes, that abundance thing is something I've heard as well. They say like lithium is a very limited resource, but sodium's not. So yeah, sodium batteries would be nice. But then I don't think lithium batteries really have a lot of lithium in anyway. So sodium, I guess it'd be the same. Hey man, your channel for me came right out of nowhere and I love your content. Thank you. I love you. Lot of buffoons pretend they know electric theory, especially the ones taking on anti-gravity. Yeah, I don't know if I'd call them buffoons, but there's a lot of people that that sort of know a bit and then try and show off and like use showy off language and things. I think I've had a few comments that say like, thank you for making the video and not trying to show off, and I don't understand why people feel the need. Sorry, I had a cold last week and I've still got a little bit. Can I ask your age? You look young yet adult. Cannot guess at all. My guess would be like 29. 29! I'm 21. I think, yes. Yeah, I probably look slightly older than... If I'd removed my stubble, then I'd probably look like 19 or something. I look young enough to get asked for ID to buy a Red Bull, so... and I think you've got to be 16 to buy one, so... I think sometimes I do look quite young. I think this camera makes me look a bit older because it's not very high quality. People are difficult to talk to. What if the topic is about electricity? Oh, well then people are brilliant to talk to if they're interested. I think occasionally I'll be like sat at my desk at work and someone will come over and say like, I don't know, anything to do with electronics, and I'll be like, oh, and start talking their brains out. I've even had some people at work ask me questions, which is crazy because, like, obviously in Formula 1, everyone's very good there. I thought I'm only there for a year, and I thought that whole year would just be me asking them questions. Ever see metal decay in seawater? Not good idea. I haven't. I avoid the sea. It's rusty. I'm not a morning person or people person. You can imagine how I feel about the morning huddle at work. Is the morning huddle a social thing? I think this might be when everyone except me goes and gets a coffee in the morning and I just sit there. I suppose that's what's referred to as the morning huddle. I made a closed-loop linear regulator from your video on a breadboard and managed to draw about 1 amp. 1 amp is quite a lot for a breadboard. Without the voltage dropping by 1 millivolt, but when I soldered it to a perf board, it dropped by more than 10 millivolts. Why? I don't know. That sounds like the kind of thing that I would always have, and it's just like really annoying. I presume all the components are the same, and I presume you've checked the soldering. I mean, if there's a soldering problem, it would probably be worse or just not work. Nothing springs to mind. I'd measure voltages at every single point on the circuit and see if they do what you expect. Bring back the Edison battery. Who cares how heavy it is? And it's Ben from uni. Oh shit, did I answer a question that you asked or something? Oh yeah, how's it going? Sorry. It's been a while since I spoke to you. Not deep. I just felt like having a rant. I do apologise. Batteries are not the way. What is the way? I'm sure you're going to tell me. I prefer to do a PhD. Says so on a live stream. Yeah, I know, but the live stream is great because it's like a one-way conversation. I like conversations when I talk about things I'm interested in, and when there's no when it's one way, I can just make it only things I'm interested in. It's a lot easier to ignore people when they're just appearing on the screen. It's a bit awkward if I'm standing to someone and they say like they start talking about their wife or something, and I can't just walk off. Hey man, recently found you and have been enjoying your videos ever since. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I don't really have that many videos because my older ones are lower quality, I'd say. But I guess I'm starting to build up a bit of a catalogue now. How many have I done since I moved here? Like 6 or something. Let's have a look. Oh, I just freaked out for a minute. I'm used to the YouTube analytics page showing me everything for the last 28 days. And earlier I went on it and clicked last year, and it said like 1.1 million views, and I was like, what's just happened? But that's for That's for the last like 6 months. It's crazy though, over 1 million views. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 videos I've done since I moved here that are sort of newer quality, but one of them's got basically 0 views. Why hasn't anyone watched my motor video? Is it because it's really short? Do people prefer long videos, or do people not care about motors? So sorry. What are you sorry for? Because you thought I was 29. I'd prefer people to think I'm old than think I'm young. Grey beard knowledge. I'd quite like a grey beard, but it keeps coming out orange. PhD also gives you a more flexible schedule too. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, already uni's fairly flexible. Like, most uni timetables, you'll have like a day or 2 off, and apart from going to lectures, nothing seems to take very long. So normally uni is like a 3-day-a-week job at most. So yeah, expect more videos next year. Maybe I'm hoping I can get enough, because there's some parts of my uni that undergraduates aren't allowed to go to because it's all because of these weird rules. And I'm hoping that I can get enough clout with this channel that I can say, can I go to here? And they'll say no, and then I'll say I've got 80,000 subscribers, and they'll go, oh, do come in, because I don't know why they'd care. I guess unis just want more people to go to the uni, so if I say I'll give the uni a shout out, maybe I can show you guys some cool research stuff. Mike, you've got to give other people the chance to say things in the chat. How do you think about the whole disposable vape drama? I find it ridiculous they are not banned. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. They are getting banned in this country. I don't know where you're from. But it's just... There's so many problems with them. Like, just the fact that they use rechargeable batteries, I don't care how crap they are. They're using rechargeable batteries in a single-use application. There's so much plastic... And I suppose a decent proportion of the users of them are of the mentality that throwing things, just chucking them, is the way to deal with waste. They're just everywhere. And yeah, and it's just terrible as well. Like the marketing as well is so weird. Like, obviously, they're not supposed to be as bad for you, for your internals, as cigarettes, but we put people off buying cigarettes by making them super expensive and putting pictures of like dead people on the front of them, and then these vapes are just there on the shelves in super colourful packaging, and that's why all the children want them. Like, obviously they're getting banned now, which is good, but I can't believe it's been multiple years of them being super popular with all these kids, like probably damaging their lungs and things, and we haven't put dead people on the front of them as well. Why are they allowed to be all colourful? Anyway, you're going to make a video about PWM one day. Yeah, that's kind of something I'm struggling with, is trying to make videos that don't overlap each other in terms of content, so that people don't complain. That's kind of why if someone asks for a video on something more complicated, I basically have to tell them no, because I'm trying to build up so that I can refer to I can say, like, I'm talking about this, but watch my previous videos on this and this so that you understand. And PWM's something that obviously should be really early on in there, but I've mentioned PWM several times in videos, so I don't really know whether it would ever get its own video. Possibly if I went into detail on like different types of PWM, and obviously PWM's pulse width modulation. There's other things like the keeping the on time constant or the off time constant, so then it's more like pulse period or pulse frequency modulation. there's also all these fancy things now that are just called like optimal pulse modulation or something, where you basically just throw loads of numbers at an AI and it tells you when to switch. Which I'm hoping, it's a bit annoying because they work quite well, as you'd expect, but they're not very nice from a control standpoint, because it's like, I've come up with this controller that increases my efficiency by 3%, but I've got no idea what it's doing or how it works. What's your name? I'm not going to say, because for some reason I don't say in my videos, but you can find it very easily. Or are you talking to Mike? Because his name is Mike. The transformer taps are a bit confusing in SMPS. Yeah, I know. I've had a few comments where I've had to try and explain, like, either explain what they are or explain what, like, talk about transformer taps, and it's even more difficult when you can't show anything, like in the reply to a comment. But yeah, possibly I could go into them if I had a video that needed it. Yo. I guess with my hat I am a bit of a yo. After the non-isolated converter videos, maybe exploring PFC. Haha! You're one step ahead, mate. Yes, that's the idea, is that I've made buck and boost converters. The boost converter board I've specifically designed so that I can then use it in a PFC video. So that's going to be, I've got explaining how they work, explaining how to design them, and then there's going to be a PFC video. So you are ahead of me on that one. Well, maybe I'm ahead of you on that one, actually. Where do you go to uni? I go to Nottingham University. The thinking was whether I should say, not trying to remember where. Make sure you go there and send your children there, because then they'll like me and show me the cool things. Well, I've already seen the cool things. I want to show you the cool things. Although I'm starting to realise a lot of the research stuff at a lot of unis isn't actually particularly groundbreaking stuff. I'm hoping once I've covered more of the basic things, I'd quite like to do videos where, like, I read a research paper on something and then try and condense it into a video that's sort of entertaining and interesting. So, like, for example, a lecturer at my uni wrote a paper a year or two ago about embedding ceramic capacitors into power modules, and it'd be quite interesting to buy some power modules, try and sort of bodge in some capacitors and then double pulse them and things and see how they perform. And I think I could probably make it somewhat engaging. So yeah, I can't remember where I was going with that. That's where I go to uni. I think any type of single-use electronics is ridiculous, especially because they're so hard to recycle. Yeah, I know. I was watching the Formula One, what was earlier? Not qualifying. Sprint race. And then in the ads, there's an ad for Duracell, and I was like, do people still buy non-rechargeable batteries? Is this a thing? I thought they were, like, dead and buried. But I guess people still buy non-rechargeables. I quite like when you get the special non-rechargeable lithium batteries that are, like, way better than the rechargeable ones, but just like a standard alkaline battery is, like, in a lot of ways they're worse performing than a rechargeable, and they're single use. It's like, if something's single use, it's got to be a lot better than the rechargeable over a single charge. But yeah, single use is just crazy. Only battery I will waste money on is nickel metal hydride. I quite like nickel metal hydride. I was about a year ago, I was looking at the battery pack from a hybrid Toyota, Prius, whichever. They're nickel metal hydride, and they're quite nice because they balance themselves via magic. And yeah, not particularly high energy density or anything, but obviously they're quite chemically stable compared to the lithium things. This speed of chat's quite nice. start the stream, awkward 5 minutes, and then I've just got a constant flow of questions. I was worried I'd get more. I've got more viewers than I had last time, but I was worried it'd be like too many viewers, because last time I strategically did it Friday night so that Americans would still be at work, because they make up a decent proportion of my viewers. Why don't you put let me know if you're from the States down below, so I can see if doing it at a weekend has meant I've got more of you guys. What component, MOSFET or transistor? A MOSFET is a type of transistor. Can I use to turn a 12-volt amp, I presume that's lamp, on and off using a Raspberry Pi? Any MOSFET that can take the current and the voltage, but I think you'll struggle to find a MOSFET that can't take 12 volts. Yeah, easiest way to pick it is if you know the current the lamp uses. Every single MOSFET will have a continuous current rating on the datasheet. Just pick one where the continuous current rating is a lot higher than what you need, so maybe double or 3 times higher. And then also make sure that it's a MOSFET that, unless this lamp is enormous, get a MOSFET that doesn't need cooling. Because if you get, for example, if you get a... Right, here's 2 different MOSFETs. If you got this one, so this is a TO92 package, or is it SOT92? I can't remember, it left my brain. If you got this and it said it could take 2 amps, all you have to do is solder it in the board and it'll take 2 amps. If you got this MOSFET and it said it can take 200 amps, it can only take 200 amps if you put a big heatsink on the back. So if you get a package that isn't intended for use with a heatsink, the continuous current rating is what it'll take on its own. But if you've got a package that's intended for a heatsink, so anything with a bolt hole or a big flat metal bit, then they'll be expecting you to put a heatsink on, which obviously you can do, but it's easier to not if you're just driving something like a lamp. So that's my recommendation. Please, if you have a lamp that needs a MOSFET like this, I want to know more about this lamp. I have a beverage vending machine that uses a linear power supply. I want to switch the AC compressor to a DC compressor and use a switch mode power supply with PWM. Should I use a higher voltage DC motor for efficiency? If you've got a switch mode power supply versus a linear, you've probably already gained enough efficiency. Higher voltage DC motors are a bit more efficient because there's less current going through the brushes, which is where a lot of the losses are. But I'd use whatever's easiest to get hold of. I guess for a compressor like that, maybe 24 volts. I don't really know though. But that sounds quite interesting. Would you rather TTL or CMOS ICs? Is that TTL versus CMOS? I haven't done anything with that kind of thing for quite a while. Probably TTL, because that's the older one. Not because it's better, but because I like old things. I think unless you need like high speed, it's nice to stick with retro. Nottingham, home of periodic videos. Yeah, I think I have a theory. Well, it's not really a theory, but I think Nottingham University is the most subscribed university, because they've got Computer File as well, which has, I don't know, like 1 million subs or something like that. They've got the 60 symbols chemistry videos. Quite a few of the departments have big YouTube channels. I'm a bit disappointed the electronics one doesn't really. I was slightly worried that if I keep gaining subs, they'll be like, would you like to become electrophile? And I'll say, no, go away. Because while I'd like to benefit from the uni, I don't particularly want them to benefit from me too much. I wouldn't want to be tied to the uni as well. Sorry. Also, electronics compared to like chemistry is a much easier thing to do at home. So it's like I think it'd be quite hard to make chemistry videos at home if you wanted to actually show stuff. But electronics, I can just buy whatever I need. What are you planning on doing a PhD on? What specialisation? I'm not really sure yet. I'm going to, when I go back to uni, once I've finished my placement in like 8 months or something, I'm going to chat to a few of the lecturers and things. It'll definitely be power electronics. That's my obsession. But specifically within that, I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'll see what options there are. I don't really know a lot about PhDs, to be honest, but I guess it would be dictated by what I can get hold of. But I'm not particularly fussed. If I end up doing a PhD on something that's not so exciting, then I can do exciting things at home, which is kind of what I do at the moment, or did at uni. Can I create a digital potentiometer somehow that can control audio volume without audio distorting too much? There is a component. You can buy digital potentiometers. I don't know how they deal with high frequency stuff, but audio is not high frequency, really. So I suspect they'd work for audio. In the little DC to DC converter I made for the variable efficiency video, this has a digital potentiometer on it. My pointer's at my other desk. I know it's all blurry, but that chip there, the bigger one, that's a digital potentiometer. So that's I squared C. I just talk to it and say, be set to 20% or 50% or whatever, and then it's got 3 pins that you just connect to your circuit, and it's just like a potentiometer where you can control where this one sits between the two. I presume that would work for audio. But I'm just using it for DC in this case. States. Wow, quite a few people. California. It's one of the more populous states, isn't it? Yeah, what states are people from? If they're from the US. I don't think I could name all the states, but I'd probably be like, oh, I've heard of that one. But California is on the west coast. I know that. A long way away. Germany, France. Amp equals audio amplifier. It wasn't lamp. Yeah, I never called them amps. I always call them amplifiers because I don't want to cause confusion. So I do apologise. I was thinking you haven't missed any other letters in anything else you've said. I suppose it's not that different. It's probably even lower power than a lamp would be, though. Someone keeps retracting messages. I feel like I'm missing out. Wow, nearly 50 viewers. 3 volt power solid state relay. I suppose that's answering that question. Yes, use a gate driver. That's a good point. I heatsink everything and even fan it from AliExpress. Talk about overrating everything. Yeah, I try and avoid fans. I like things to be quiet. It's a bit annoying that I mentioned it in the last stream, but I've got a new rack mount BK power supply for powering stuff, which is really nice, except it's got like 7 fans in it, and they're those tiny little 40mm ones, and they're quite noisy. So I think I think one day if I have enough time and space, I think I might turn it from a rack mount power supply. I might just bolt a massive heatsink on top because I can't really record once the fans turn on because it's so loud. But I'm trying. I'm in negotiations at the moment to try and acquire some nicer power supplies for my videos. Yeah. CMOS is lower voltage. TTL. Yeah. TTL. So most of the ICs I've got are TTL then, because I've got boxes there with like logic gates, shift registers, like all the like 4000 series and things. I got them from school. Yeah, they're all like up to 18 volt. So I guess those are TTL, which probably makes sense because I think they're from like the 90s. Would you rather BC547 or 2N2222? Definitely BC547. The 2N2222. Isn't that like Europe versus America? I'm sure there's something where like the 2N series is standard in America and the BC series is standard in Europe. And do they have a flipped pinout as well? I'm sure there's some reason why it's quite a controversial question, but no, I've got thousands of BC548s that I bought when I used to do things with BJTs. It's all MOSFETs now. Thank you, sir. I would quite like to make a power converter with BJTs at some point. There was a company that I was reading about trying to say that BJTs are still relevant for power electronics. Sort of seemed quite interesting, but also quite niche. Oh, you guys are having conversations without me in the chat. It's a bit... I feel very left out. San Francisco, California. It's like drive San Francisco. I drove around San Francisco a bit. And San Francisco is where the Golden Gate Bridge is, right? And it's also got the roads that are like that, which is cool. Videos are amazing. Thank you. Do you have any advice for a student in embedded systems? I got asked about embedded things last time. I want to practice outside of uni, but don't know where to start or what kits to buy online. Embedded systems. Is that... I guess most embedded systems now are quite complex, as in like little computers, not microcontrollers anymore. But I suppose embedded, you're still programming in C. I would definitely recommend getting some kind of microcontroller dev board, so like an Arduino, but for what's the right word that's not going to upset people? Like professional applications. Oh, that's probably still going to upset people. So you learn to use like an IDE that's not super simple like the Arduino one. So I've got a few, like STM32 is probably the most like common one. Then you learn to program, you learn all about peripherals and things like that. I think that's the kind of thing you want. They have a 96 volt DC compressor, but they need 75 amps. Wow. Does your motor video describe how to set up? No, my motor video is very basic. I don't know whether maybe that's why no one's watching it. It literally just says a motor is a magnet and it spins in a field. That's quite a lot of current. Yeah, I'm not sure how a switch mode power supply is going to handle something like that. I can imagine a linear power supply being a bit better at that kind of thing, which is probably a reason why it has a linear power supply, because those big caps can handle quite a bit of current, and also low frequency transformers I think are a bit happier to handle some overload with more thermal mass, I guess. Car battery preferably. Yeah, that sounds like what you need. You'd need quite a few of them for 96 volts. My outlet is 20 amps, 120 volts AC. Oof. Are you into music? Yes. Probably quite basic. I just kind of listen to what's on the radio, and my playlist is basically just whatever's popular at the moment. But I am into music. I've got more into music recently. I've started listening to the charts on Friday, finding out what songs are popular, and then complaining when one I don't like is number one. Sabrina Carpenter got dethroned after 9 weeks at number one in the UK yesterday. I was very disappointed because it was I think it was by a song called Sailor Song, which I really don't like, so that was disappointing. Probably ground reference. I think you're not talking to me. I think your chat is delayed. Yeah, there's always. Well, I'm more delayed than the chat is. Trust me. I'm trying to not get to the bottom, because then there's an awkward thing where I'm like, oh, what do I do now? Yeah, the chat doesn't look super delayed. I've got a feed up here that shows, I think, probably a similar time to what you guys see, and it's probably like 5 seconds delay. Yeah, most of the delay is me. I also feel like there is a decent delay. Anyone who feels like there's a delay, put something in the chat and I'll say the moment it appears, and then you'll see it's probably not as bad as you think. Delay. There we go. 22:19. Ping. YouTube has three options when you set up the live stream. Annoyingly, you can't change it during the stream, but they've got basically it's either you've got one that's like highest stream quality but really delayed, and they say don't use this if you want to interact with the chat at all. So I guess that's the kind of thing that like Apple will use for their keynotes. Then there's the middle one, which is what I've got now, which is like decent quality, a bit of delay, and then there's one, but they don't really quantify the quality or the delay at all. And then there's another one that says like low delay, best for chat interaction, low video quality. And I thought I want good chat interaction, but I don't want bad video quality in case I want to show you guys something. Although I think at the moment my quality is limited by my webcam, because like if I hold up this MOSFET, like that is like not in focus. I've got no control over this camera. It's just some Logitech thing. I want to live stream with my proper camera I use for the videos, but the only output it's got is HDMI, and I don't know how to get HDMI into my laptop without some fancy capture card thing. But one day I will sort that. Anyway, now there's loads of things in the chat I've missed. The HAL library, yes. Sometimes you need to turn a transistor on with a small amount of current rather than having to bootstrap. Blah, 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 blah. Do you use lead or lead-free solder? Oh, lead all the way. I'm quite happy that at work we use lead. I don't think Formula 1 has to be ROHS compliant, so we have both, but I always use lead. I've got lead here as well. I use this Loctite stuff, which I think is exactly the same as some solder by a company called Multicore. It's got tons of flux in it, and it is 0.7mm diameter. Probably like 5 years ago now, I bought 10 rolls of these on eBay for like 20 quid. It was crazy cheap. And I think I'm on roll number 4 now. So that's what I use, and it should last me long enough until I'm, I don't know, probably dead from the fumes. Yeah, no fume extraction, but you should have fume extraction. Yeah, 5 seconds. Oh, someone's got 20 seconds. So much more chill than channels with like 10,000 messages per second. Yeah, I wouldn't want to have to turn on like slow mode or whatever it is. I don't even know. Can I do that? Moderation activity, timestamps. I don't want to click on anything in case it ends the stream. I've got a very scary looking thing called community moderation. Don't know what that does. Oh, I can click on a user and put them on a timeout. don't be naughty or I'll time you out. Hide user on this channel. Or I can add you as a moderator. I can go to your channel. I can pin a message. I can remove. I've got quite a few options. Don't be naughty. How do you guys know there's a delay? We tested the delay together. It was really fun. I think quantifying delay and quality is quite difficult. Yeah, I was gonna say that, but then I just kind of forgot to. Yeah, it's not like they say, oh, you'll have 4K in 20 seconds or 1080p and whatever. And then even that wouldn't really quantify the quality. I think the bitrate's probably a lot more important. I've got this warning that I can't get rid of that says, this stream's current bitrate is 5,000 5,000-ish kilobit per second. This is lower than recommended. I think recommended is 13,500. But they don't seem to understand that some of us don't have very good internet. I've set it to 5 megabit because that's how fast my upload is. Video quality is more good enough for this chat. Yeah, I was expecting... I mean, if anyone asks any questions where I have to show things, I'll show things. But, yeah, don't remind me that you guys are watching me. It's a bit awkward. I'm just sat here and randomly doing this when I feel awkward. Vague terms make more sense. Yes, they do. Lead is the only way. Yeah, I know. Every time I accidentally use lead solder for something, or for some reason solder something at uni, it's like, Frosty the Snowman. I asked a professor where all the power electronic engineers have gone. It just seems like this very important subset is undertaught. Yeah, I know. It's very undertaught. I've done 3 years of uni so far. The first year we didn't have a single thing on it. Second year was really good, and it was taught by this guy, but he's retired now. Third year we just basically did the same things again. So 3 years at uni and we still just have like buck converter, and we know that the switching devices are called MOSFETs, but we don't know anything about like parasitics or what MOSFETs look like. Yeah. What's your setup to deal with the fumes from the lead solder? Oh, I think I've revealed. I do actually have something. I showed this in the last stream, but I have made this sophisticated fume extraction device, which has one of these Noctua fans that aren't the fancy Noctua fans, and some coaxial cable for some reason, and then that plugs into my power supply. One of my power supplies has a fixed 5-volt output, which runs the fan barely enough to suck up the smoke. And when I say suck up, I mean circulate. But I don't solder that much, to be honest, especially at the moment, because all I'm making is boards for the videos, and as you might have noticed, they're quite simple boards. Oh, I do apologise for this coughing. Wish there was an alternative that wasn't extremely expensive and less toxic. Even lead solder's quite expensive. Getting hold of anything that's decent, it's more expensive than you'd expect. Lead-free sucks, but you need to be careful not to breathe anything in. Oh, I've started reading comments I've already read. The EE major means I can't do basic math, but I can tell you how a circuit works. It's weird as well. In this country we call it EEE, Electrical and Electronic Engineering. But it seems like most other places call it EE. Is that electrical engineering or electronic engineering? Which one is it? I never really know what to refer to myself as well. You say electrical engineer or electronic engineer, because saying both is just takes too long. It's boring. I normally say electrical engineer, but electrical engineer sounds a bit like everyone thinks you're an electrician. And if you say electronic engineer, then people think you're like a radio repairman. So I guess it depends which of those two you want to be. Enjoy a hot plate because I wasn't bothered to develop a hot plate. Hot plate's glowing red. It's definitely hot. I don't want coal for Christmas. Oh, you'll need coal or you'll get cold. Any cool projects you're working on right now? I only really have time for whatever I show in the videos, which I find quite enjoyable. Trying to design boards that are simple to show things. Obviously the last video, each board just had a single component on, so that was a little bit boring, but now I'm designing like these buck and boost converters and things. That's quite interesting. Just trying to design them in a way that, like, obviously for power electronics you want components close together to minimise the parasitics, but I don't want to put them too close or it's hard to show on camera. That kind of thing. It's like an extra element to the engineering that you have to consider. Also, the boards I'm making have integrated shunt resistors to show various currents in the circuit, so that makes the layout and things a bit more interesting. They've got no controller though, that's all external, so still nothing super exciting or super difficult. I've got a gate driver board for a power module I've been designing. Well, I started and then stopped. That's a cool project for... Oh, I'm revealing everything. That down there, that is the 60 kilowatt synchronous motor from a Renault Zoe. That's the inverter on the floor in front of it. I'm redesigning the inverter because I want to like build my own electric car, and that's the closest I can get to doing that. So right now I'm designing the gate driver board for that custom inverter to then put in a Renault Zoe. So I guess that's kind of a cool project, but because I won't be making videos on it, I'm kind of prioritising video projects for now. That's probably something I'm going to work on over the summer. The flux fumes are worse than lead. Yes. Yeah, the smoke isn't lead, obviously. It takes more than a soldering iron to vaporise lead. Yeah, I think if you're breathing in lead vapour, I think you've got worse things to worry about. Fume extraction is still important. Yes. Yeah, the handling solder as well. I'm not very good at that. I'll normally solder for a few hours and then like start licking my fingers. I've been to Australia in 2012 for 12 months after high school. Work and travel is what it was called. Yeah, that sounds quite cool. I don't think I could handle that. I don't like change, and I think leaving England is too much change for me. I do that as rarely as possible. I'm only 2 hours from home at the moment, and I'm eager to get back. 5K bitrate is quite low, but I don't think your webcam would benefit from more. No, neither do I. What was your most time-consuming project? Let's have a quick look. I've got a folder on my computer that's full of folders, and each folder is named for a different project, and it has the dates I worked on that project. I do like to keep my things nice and organised. Projects. Yeah, there's only a few that span more than 1 year. The longest running one is called Bike and BLDC. Because basically I spent... It says 2019 to 2021, that one. So it's only 2 years. But yeah, I spent quite a lot of time playing around with... Basically, I bought some brushless motors off eBay, and I wanted to make my own controller for them. But I wanted to learn it all myself, so I didn't look at anything online. I just bought some transistors and like tried to work out like how it worked with the back EMF and things. I had no scope or power supply at that point, so I was just running it off some AA's. So that was a very long-term project, but it was mostly just me messing around after school with transistors and things. That's definitely the best way to learn stuff. But it's quite difficult because I think most people watching my videos, obviously they're already aware of the internet, and like the best way to learn, I think, is to just hand someone loads of components and lock them in a room with them for a year. But that's not really politically correct. Coax on a fan. Yeah, I think it's because there's an electronics shop, or there was an electronics shop in the UK called Maplin that closed down maybe like 5 years ago. And when they announced they were closing down, my wonderful father decided that it would be good if we went on a road trip and went to like the nearest 5 shops and basically just bought everything because it was super discounted. So I've got like a kilometre of this weird coax cable that's really crap. So that was back when I was trying to use it up. Now I just use nice cable. That's a very papaya coloured hat. It's Max Orange. It's not papaya. I'll go and swap hat if you think it's too papaya. And if it is papaya, it's not for Norris. Too bad you need so much schooling, my uncle. Too bad you need so much stuff in the mailroom. Yeah, it kind of feels like you can't get anywhere these days without having a degree and all this stuff. I don't really mind because I really enjoy school and uni and academia. But I imagine for most people it's not so fun. Classes are EEE in the US as well. Maybe people just type EE because it's quicker or something. Yeah, that's exactly what you said. In the Netherlands, it's called Electrotechnic. Oh, that's nice. Especially with the K. Anything that's got a K instead of a C. Yeah, in Germany, Electrotechnic. Renault Zoe, bit disappointed it's not a Red Bull motor. Oh, I haven't managed to get one of those in my bag yet. It's a bit annoying. Yeah, we have in the lab that I do my work in, we've got some like plastic trolleys that we push things around on, because if we make an inverter that's however many thousands of pounds, they're not going to let us carry it. We have to put it on this trolley and push it around, even though obviously they're quite lightweight, so you can carry them. And we've got a trolley that's just been sat in the corner of the room for like 4 months with one of the F1 motors on for the new engines. It's really nice. But yeah, I won't say too much more. But nice. I wish I could show it, because I mean, it seems like people aren't that interested in motors based on the performance of my other motor video. But I think people would be interested in that motor. Anyway. But they're also not massively different from the current F1 motors, or the current MG UK, and you can probably find a little bit about them online. I think both Mercedes and more recently Honda have been quite generous in sort of pictures and things that they post online of them. I didn't finish mine because of financial problem. I presume that's talking about school, which is unfortunate. Oh no, and because of school. Oh, so you didn't finish your project. I guess your project must be a similar electric car thing. Would you rather... Oh no, not another one. LM393 or LM311? 393, because that's what I have in my boxes. See, another one of these things where I don't know where they're from, but for some reason I have hundreds of them. I feel like that about 2/3 of the stuff in this lab. I can't work out. I don't know where it's come from, but I just have like thousands of ICs and MOSFETs and transistors and capacitors and things. Like I know where quite a lot of it's from, but I feel like someone just comes in at night sometimes and just adds components to my collections. Or I'm a hoarder and I've already got memory issues. I'd like to soup up a cheap electric bike. Yeah, that seems like a slightly more financially sound project than an electric car. I just have like, I just envision the not so nice people that whiz around on the pavements, nicking people's phones on very fast electric bikes. So please, if you do it, don't use it for crime. I think the best way to learn is a combination of trying around, but also learning about the inner workings of things you cannot easily take apart. Yeah, that's the thing as well, because I sort of refused to listen to anyone for so many years. There was a few things where I kind of developed misconceptions. But yeah, because I didn't learn anything properly until I went to uni, really. Because they stopped teaching it before I could study it at school. Thanks for the stream, thank you. I love your videos. I hope to get caught up on some of the older ones. Depends how old. I wouldn't delve into the playlist of the unlisted old ones. I love school but hate testing. Oh, I love exams. For me, exams and interviews are some of my favourite things. It's like, I don't know, if I have to sit down and small talk with someone, that's a social situation I don't want to be in. But a job interview, it's just, as long as they're asking like questions that are interesting, because yeah, like if I'm applying for a technical, like when I was applying for Red Bull, the interview is like a bit over an hour. It's basically just an hour when people are forced to talk to me about something I like. I thought it was really fun. And exams were great as well. I loved just like sitting there watching everyone coming in all nervous, and I always did so much better in exams than like homework or anything. Or quite a few of my subjects at school I did a lot better than I was predicted. Because for some reason they just sit down in the exam and read a question, and I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do this, and then suddenly just start knowing how to do it. It's very odd. I like online classes. Yeah, when school was shut for COVID, I didn't really do anything. I just played GTA all day. Ugh. I don't like gaming anymore, it's not productive. TBH, these new motors like synchronous reluctance from Tesla. Is synchronous reluctance from Tesla? Have you been watching that video that makes it seem like it's Elon's greatest invention, latest invention? Yeah, I would quite like to be able to get hold of videos, not videos, sorry. I would like to make videos of like tearing down electric cars and things, but it's obviously quite expensive. I do know of somebody that runs a company that does something like that, who I may contact at some point if I have a gap in my unofficial video schedule. Because I'd quite like to do a video, every part of an electric car explained. That sort of fits into my usual series, but then I sort of go through inverter, motor, battery, and then the problem is it's only those three, so then I'd go into sort of a bit more detail about each one. But yeah, this is a very odd type of motor. This is a brushed motor. It's the only sort of mainstream electric car I know with a brushed motor. Wound rotor. It's very old school, very big and heavy compared to the size. Because I've also got the motor from a Jaguar I-Pace, which is about the same size, a bit lighter, and 4 times the power. Because it's permanent magnet. Do you have any cathode ray oscilloscopes? I don't here. I've got like 20 at home. Oh, 20 is maybe an exaggeration. I've got probably 8 that work and maybe another 10 that don't. So I guess about 20. Because if I ever see one for sale, it's like 10 quid. Even if it's broken, I'll buy it because they just look so cool. And I always think, oh, maybe I'll fix it one day, but obviously it just goes on the shelf. I think I showed it in the last stream, but I'll quickly try and find a picture of my test equipment. Oh, I might be scrolling for quite a while. Quick, or people are going to get bored. Quicker. You're taking too long. There we go. Right, it's going to be looking at my phone on the crap webcam, but oh, that's really bad. Oh, there you can kind of see. It's almost blurred so that you can't tell what they are, but that's all of my spare test equipment that's not here. Quite a lot of it broken. All very basic stuff as well, like simple function generators and scopes and power supplies. But I don't have any here. My last lab that I had when I was still in Nottingham, I had 2 CRT scopes there, and I used them like once in 2 years. The only scope I use is my digital Rigol, because a lot of stuff I do need single shot capture, or just to not be 50 years out of Cal. Anyway, I have massive exam anxiety. Yeah, I can maybe not empathise, but I can understand that. I think a lot of people struggle with exams. And it's definitely not a very good way of... I'm lucky in that I do better in exams than I do not in exams, but it's definitely not a very good way to judge people. And it's definitely not a very good way to like teach people as well, to just prepare them for an exam and not for life. What are your thoughts on Styropyro's new video? I don't watch his videos. I'm sorry. They seem a little bit clickbaity. Maybe they're good. So, yeah, I do apologise for that. To be fair, they should make affordable impedance analysers for hobbyists. Yeah, there's some things that are just so expensive. Something I really want is a Rogowski coil for measuring current, which they're quite expensive. The nice ones are sort of like maybe 1,500 quid per probe. So I've been trying to make my own, which if I have slightly more success than I'm having at the moment, I might make a video on. But I've actually got a meeting next week with an engineer from a company that make Rogowski coils, probably the best Rogowski coils. So I'm hoping that either I can do a video like with them, or get some Rogowski coils to use for videos, or ask him for tips on making my own, which I suspect he probably won't want to give. Try to contact Lucid if you can. Oh, the Lucid motors are so nice. They're definitely, the Lucid motors are definitely the nicest motors in like a consumer product. The Dyson motors are really nice too, but obviously slightly different scale. Also, the Dyson motors are like, part of the reason they're nice is because they're made to a low cost, and you can see they've done lots of nice engineering to make them cheap. I don't think there's much cost saving in the Lucid motors, which is kind of why they're not doing so well. Long shot, but they might invite you. I think if I have more, that's the main reason I want subscribers. Please subscribe, everybody. I'm not looking for like ad revenue, or I would quite like the little tick at 100k to be fair, but the more subscribers is the number I quote to people when I'm trying to get stuff from them. And the only stuff I'm ever trying to get from people is stuff to show in videos like that. So if I can go to Lucid and say I've got 200k subs, then it's better than if I've got 40k subs. So subscribe. But also I don't ask people to sub in the videos much or at all, because it's just like so cliche and things. I think there's only once in my whole life that I've watched a video and they've said subscribe and I've thought, oh, I'm not subscribed, and then subbed. So definitely doing it every video and having that stupid patronising little thing for if you're 95 and you don't know what to click on. I don't want to do that. Anyway. What can I use 150 amp, 1.6 kilovolt, 3-phase rectifier for? I found 2 of these in my dad's storage room. I want to know what he was using them for. It's the 1.6 kV that's probably the problem. Obviously you can use them at lower voltage, but they'll probably have quite high forward voltage. 3-phase as well, that's really weird. I'm not sure what you can use them for. You can maybe use them as a heater if you put them all in series. I've got some quite beefy rectifiers as well, which I use purely as decoration. Which is probably quite a good thing to use them for, to be honest. Have you ever looked into grid tie inverters? Yes, we had a coursework. I had a coursework last year where we had to design, or we had to make a simulation of a grid tie inverter, and it was all right. Well, actually, no, it wasn't really. Yeah, they're quite interesting. I'm a big fan of traction inverters that you'd have in an EV. Grid tie inverters are kind of similar, except much lower power density because they've got to be the output's got to be filtered, and the control is quite interesting. That's something I was thinking about making a video about, and it's something that I probably will make a video about at some point. But again, I'd have to be quite careful because for the video I will probably make an actual grid tie inverter and pump some current back up the grid from my house. But I have to somehow discuss it in the video and say, don't do this please, because you're not allowed to. Yeah, or I can try and make my own like isolated mains supply, but I'm not really sure how to. I've got one of those power block box, whatever they're called, things up there. That's a 0.5 kWh EcoFlow thing. I don't know what happens if you pump mains back into that. I don't really want to find out. So, yeah, but no, they're quite interesting. I was thinking about doing that for a more advanced PFC video. If I do one about power factor correction, I could then do a follow-up video on more modern, like totem pole power factor correction, which allows you to go both ways. So, yeah. For our lab, a high-frequency current sensor costs around 10k, which is absurd. Yeah, some things are so expensive. At work, we use some scope probes that are like 40k or something, and then plug them into a scope that's like over 100k. It's quite nice. And it means I get home and look at my like 200 quid Rigol and go, oh. Current probe. I figure it also has a Rogowski coil in addition to a Hall sensor. Oh, your ones. Yeah, that would be quite nice, the combination of the two. I was thinking about trying to make some kind of probe with both, but it seems tricky. Are you a red or a blue? Are you from Merseyside? Where's Merseyside? Merseyside. I'm not very good at my counties. I've got a lot better at my towns and cities. Ah, it's Liverpool. I'm not from Liverpool or Merseyside. I'm also not quite sure what red or blue means. If you clarify, I can perhaps answer. Why do you think I'm from Merseyside as well? Is my voice what people from there sound like? I didn't think so. I think I sound a bit southern, even though I'm not southern. Especially Dyson, they're all about marketing BS. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that kind of thing, but I don't know. Some of the engineering's nice. Yes, there you go. Still very nice devices. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of things I'll comment on is purely from engineering. Like in the UK, we've got something called HS2, which is our high-speed train line, which is sort of like Not so good financially and things. It's costing us lots of money and not really going anywhere. But from an engineering standpoint, it's interesting, and I like it, and I want it to go ahead. But only from an engineering standpoint. What will be the topics of upcoming videos? Next video is going to be on basic DC to DC converter topologies, for which I have a question I'm going to ask shortly now that we have more viewers. Then there's going to be a video on how to design those. So first is how they work. Second video is going to be how to design them. Normally I try and do everything in one video, but these two seem like they'd be worth separating. And they won't be out for probably another 2 weeks because I've got to wait for boards to arrive that I just finished today designing. Then after that I'm going to use the boost converter to do a power factor correction video. And then after that I'm not so sure, but I've got a few different like companies I'm in talks with about videos, so it might be one of those, which should be exciting. So my question is, start a poll. What is the best way to do this? I am going to very quickly draw, very badly, a circuit, and then I'm going to ask you guys to vote what its name is. This is power electronics, so I'm going to put a third option saying I don't know, which is fine because the video is going to teach you what it is in case you're not a power electronics person. Let's try and not mess this up, or the answer that you guys give will be completely meaningless. No. No. Input. Let's draw some circles and some dots where the wires meet. Circle, circle, dot, output. Right, this is probably going to look really bad on the camera. Actually, let me quickly write the question as well. What is this circuit called? Right. There's your three options. Hopefully that works. And here is the circuit. Ah, that's not too blurry. Let me know if you can't see it very clearly. But I want to know what people think it's called, and then I'm going to ask a question regarding its name. Ah, this is quite interesting. I'm going to hold it up for a little bit longer, and then I guess I'll keep holding it up, and I'll answer if anyone's said anything else. No one said not sure. If you're not sure, please put not sure. Which I want people to say they're not sure, because then it justifies me making a video on them. At the moment, I'm only going to get 12% of you watching it. I don't like Dyson because of Brexit. Brexit. Right, I'm going to hide the circuit now. Thank you everybody for voting. So, the reason I ask is that, as 62% of you have said, this circuit is technically called a buck boost converter. But I'm happy to see that 19% of you have said flyback converter. Because the problem is, I want to do a video. The next video is going to be on the three fundamental DC to DC topologies, which are buck converter, boost converter, and that. And if I call that buck boost in the video is going to be completely incomprehensible when I say, today we're talking about buck boost and buck boost converters. Like, it's just a stupid name, and it's confusing to say the least, especially because there's also something that's also called buck boost converter, which is when you combine a buck and a boost converter together, which is not that. So personally, I refer to this as flyback converter. Technically, flyback refers to the isolated version of this. So I call this flyback and I call that isolated flyback because I think that's a lot clearer. And then the name buck boost refers to a combination of buck and boost converter. And so basically, in the next video, I want to start it by saying, this is technically a buck boost converter, but I'm going to call it a flyback converter to make things clear. And I decided to ask my colleagues at work about this and say, what do you think about me calling it not its correct name? But I work with people of a particular European nationality, quite a lot of them are from, and they were not happy with the idea of me not calling it its correct name. They were like, this is not the correct name. Nine. Just to paraphrase. So, yeah, they were quite offended at the idea of not calling something its correct name. But I think I'm going to call it flyback because I don't want to say, this section I'm talking about buck, and then I'm talking about boost, and then talking about buck boost, and I just think it's, yeah. Also, when I was taught it at uni, our lecturer called this flyback, and I think he did that intentionally because I think he agreed with me. But I'm about to probably read lots of aggressive comments from you guys, and maybe I'll change my mind. Although I have already ordered the board that says flyback on it, so I'm not really checking to see what I should do, just more how much backlash I should expect. But yeah, because personally I have no problem with saying things that aren't true if it makes things clearer. I'd rather people understand how it works but think it's called the wrong name than be all confused about it because its name is the same as the others. I think that's a fair thing to say. Like I think if someone went to a job interview and someone said, "What's this converter?" and they said flyback, but it's not flyback, it's this. I don't think the person doing the interview is going to be like, "Oh, go away, you don't know what it's called." Anyway, I'll stop rambling. Yes, to be fair, I think I'm hoping the video will still be useful for people that know the circuit. I think I've come up with quite a nice way of explaining sort of how they work and how the three circuits are derived and why there can only be three, why there's only three possible DC-DC converters with these components. Another name has been up-down. Yeah, I think I might be wrong, but I think in America they like to call them up and up-down. But obviously that doesn't really fix the problem. Also, I might be wrong about that America thing. It's hard to tell because the entire internet seems to be American, so anything I see on the internet I just assume is American. For what reason do you call a flyback converter? Is that particularly nationality German? No comment. Is to say, no, do not call it that. Yeah, see, that's what they said as well. Inverting buck boost could differentiate it. It could, but the video is going to be an hour long with a name like that. How do I fix this damn digital CRT scope, which the buttons perform the wrong functions when pressed? I don't know. Sorry. Also, my father seems to think that the last stream went on for too long, so unless people beg me, I'm probably going to end the stream in like 20 minutes, 10 minutes. He seems to be the only person that thinks that, though. He's like, "Oh, I'm sure you're rambling on after a few hours." I guess I'm rambling from the start, so it doesn't really make a difference. Oh, no one seems too upset about the names. I'm German myself, I can understand your colleagues. Yes, they're not all German, but they seem... I think they're all German at heart. And I don't know. I think the proportion of my viewers that are German, I'm happy to lose my German viewers for this one video if it makes it easier to understand for the rest of us. Circuits homework, that sounds like good homework. Thanks for all you do. Oh, thank you very much. And good luck with whatever you're working on for the next video. Bye-bye. In Germany, you call it inverse Wandler. Good accent. Yes, thank you, Abdullah. You agree with me, and that makes me happy. Yeah, I think flyback is fine as well. I think the name is less important than the function, and I think anyone that thinks the name is more important than understanding the function maybe shouldn't be a teacher. No offence. I personally believe being precise with names is important because otherwise it gets very confusing. But you see, I think it's more confusing to use the name Buck Boost. But as you explained, it is already... Sorry, I need to read more than one comment at a time. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm swapping one type of confusion for another. I accept that. But what can you do? Oh, now I've caught up with the bottom of the chat. That's not good. Someone say something or I'm going to have to leave. I think if you call it flyback, you should explain that conventionally... Yes, I'm going to do that. I've already got that line written saying, this is normally called buck boost, but I'm going to call it flyback. That's not what I meant, Tim. I'll quickly show the new boards I've made for the next video, seeing as we're talking about buck and boost converters and things. They're not anything particularly thrilling. I'm really selling it here. Display capture on. Then we want small logo off, camera off. Oh, you're going to see all my secrets. This is the boost converter. So what I like to do for the boards for the videos as well is if there's something on the board that I'm not going to talk about in the video, I put it on the bottom. So the gate driver is down here, hidden away. So I'm not going to discuss that really very much in the video. And then also you can see these low inductance shunt resistors I've put. So we've got input capacitor current, output capacitor current, inductor current, MOSFET current and diode current, and here you can see the components. This one is the boost converter. So we should be able to see basically every waveform in the next in the video, which I think would be quite nice. So yeah, and then I've put these headers on as well. You'll see there's a board that plugs into them. So yeah, this is the boost converter. The reason there's lots of space is because I've made all three boards the same size. So then this is the buck converter, same as the boost but flipped around. This one is the flyback converter, bigger because it's less good. And then those headers plug into this board, which is the breakout board. So this has a ton of BNCs on, which are really expensive. And we can plug those into the scope to see output capacitor voltage, current, MOSFET current. As long as you don't plug in outputs from the two groups at different times, because they've got different references, which you can see down here. And then PWM input to the gate drive up here. So I think it's quite nice. Whoops, what am I looking for? OBS. I'm not very good at this. Display capture. And now I can look at the chat again. But anyway, yeah, they're the boards for the new video. I think they could be quite interesting. Show us your dance moves. I'm not sure if I've ever even tried to dance. That's kind of what I meant earlier when I said part of me is a 60-year-old and part of me is a 8-year-old. I think that's the 60-year-old part. Someone mentions dancing and I'm just like, oh, I've been around far too long to do that kind of thing. Hello, buddy. Greetings from Ecuador. That's cool. I'm looking forward to see those videos, whatever you call them. Yeah, that's the thing as well. I'm thinking of calling it Flyback, but I'm not sure what to call it in the title. I really don't want a title of a video called Buck Boost Converters Explained. So I might call it Flyback as well, and then people can click on the video and give hate comments before they've even watched it. Ah, good night, George. Repair Cafe. Would it also be interesting to do a double pulse measurement for a device and try to match it to the datasheet? That's basically what I do at work. Test lots, double pulse lots of things, and then we try and push them beyond the datasheet. Yeah, I really want to do a video about double pulse tests. That's the reason why I'm talking to the Rogowski Coil company, because they're probably the best thing for current measurement for double pulse. Well, a shunt's maybe better, but a coaxial shunt's a little bit, I don't know. I don't think I prefer to double pulse test things in circuit if possible. But yeah, I'm definitely going to do a video on double pulse testing once I have the equipment and something interesting to double pulse. Are you a student of power electronics engineer? I just do normal EEE, electrical and electronic engineering. But I pick the modules that are power electronicsy. DC to DC converters explained. See, I was thinking of that, but buck, boost, and flyback. There's a lot of other DC to DC converters. So potentially something like the three fundamental DC to DC converters or something like that, because you can argue that every other topology is derived from one of those three, although most of them are derived from buck. Because my plan is to use this as the sort of start video for a series covering the more advanced topologies with soft switching and isolation and all these fancy things. But yeah, would you rather the thing I can't pronounce or Darlington? I think I like Darlington because Darlington's a very English name, Darlington. And also, again, it's one of these things, I've got a box full of Darlington transistors. So there's just something like retro about them, it's great. I need to use a Darlington pair. Maybe the video could be simple DC to DC switching converters explained. I made the mistake of asking ChatGPT for a name of one of my videos, and you could really tell it's way too clickbaity for me. I don't like it if I make a video about something that's difficult to name, because I know the name matters to get clicks and things, but I really don't like giving... I like the MOSFET video, that's called Everything You Need to Know About MOSFETs, which you could argue is quite a clickbaity name. But at the same time, I think I've only had like one comment out of like 400 comments or something that has pointed out anything I've missed from that video. So I feel like it's a fairly comprehensive video, so I can give it that name. But yeah, I'm not a fan of clickbait. You can probably tell from my thumbnails as well. I like my thumbnail to just be a picture of something. I try and avoid putting text on it if I can. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's like Darlington. Yes, I can't pronounce it, but I do know what it is. Well, I remembered vaguely what it was. Yes, and they are better, but Zacle doesn't sound as cool as Darlington. It doesn't sound as English, at least. Mr. and Mrs. Darlington. I bet they shop at Waitrose. I had a need for BNC panel connectors with integrated LED surround. Wow, they sound quite nice. They were very expensive, about 60 quid each. Whew. Yeah, mine aren't that expensive. I'll give you that. I think Buck Boost and Buck Boost Converters Explained is a funny and good and accurate name. I guess you'll have to wait and see what I end up settling on. I've still got like 2 weeks to decide. What's your opinion on having your workshop in your living room? I don't have a living room, I just have a workshop. I have the same setup and find it mentally draining. It makes me hard to enjoy leisure time. See, I just don't really have leisure time, that's the thing. I know there's a sofa thing in the background, but that's mostly there because it folds out into a bed if I have a visitor. I spend a few hours a week on it because I have a television on the edge of one of the shelves. The shelf that's like behind me in the videos, there's a TV on the other side of that, small TV. I watch a little bit of TV, but no, I'd say normally if I get back from work and it's not bedtime, I'm here designing PCBs and testing things for videos. So for me, I just want all lab and no living room. But I can see that it's definitely nice to separate things when possible. But I definitely choose a lab in living room over lab in bedroom because beds are very dusty things. No, a genuine source for those diodes. Or if they've got them on Mauser, that's where I'd go. I buy every single component from Mauser. Oh, it looks like they don't have them on Mauser. Then I don't know. I never really have a specific component requirement. I'm normally just looking for like a Schottky diode, a polymer capacitor, etc. So I always just go on Mauser and buy what I need. I used to get things on eBay, but I don't think it's worth the hassle. Would you rather IRL Z44N or IRF Z44N? Definitely IRF. I haven't heard of IRL. It sounds a bit... I don't know. I guess it's whether a gamer would say an L or an F is worse. I think an L is definitely negative, but F could be seen as positive. Logic level. Nah. I'd rather put an F in the chat than receive an L. If these things mean what I believe they mean. I can see a nice curve in my viewer numbers as well, which is quite nice. I suppose the best time to end the stream is just before it starts to curve down. I wonder if that's because of the time or because of how long the stream's been going on for. Maybe I should try a stream at a different time of day. I like to try and do them in the evenings. Got to go, this was fun. I think I'm going to be following you, to be honest. Right. Styrofoam's going, that means it's time for me to go as well. So, and also I've caught up with the chat. So I have nothing else to say. Thank you everyone for watching. Yeah, has been good. So, goodbye everybody.